What's up, everybody? It is after the week here on a special Monday edition. For those of you who do not know, we're usually live on Sundays. However, this past weekend, I was on vacation, my last vacation in a very long time. But we are here to talk pro wrestling, what we saw this week, what we considered the best, what we considered the worst. And I'm here with Will Washington. Will, I feel like I haven't seen you in centuries.
I know. I resisted the last few days even asking you about how it all went because I wanted to save it specifically for this show. And so I want to know, how was it all?
Dude, man, okay, so I don't even know where to begin. So I did 2 nights of the Eras tour. Obviously the opening night on Friday, and I had really good seats in the 100 section, so I got like a great view of everything. She did over 3 hours.
That's what I heard. I heard
4 songs.
I heard she did like 44 songs.
Right.
Okay.
And then the next day I had floor seats VIP. So it's a 2 totally different experiences when you're watching the show from like the 100 section, because you pretty much get to see like the whole entire stage, but then up close, it's like you get all of these, really good details. But then there are some parts of the show where you don't get to see like the full stage because, you're a lot closer. So I feel like I got 2 different experiences and it was marvelous, Will. So I got probably maybe 6.5 hours worth of Taylor Swift music the last, pretty much weekend. And it was fun. I took my sister. We went to Arizona. We toured around, did a couple of things here and there. There isn't that much to do in the area. So we're like, okay, we found a couple of things to do, which was fun. But it was great. I flew to Arizona and then drove back. So yesterday I got home probably like around 6:30. And then by then it was just like, I'm done. I need to go to sleep and come back tomorrow and start the week fresh. But it's one of those things when you go on vacation and you're like, damn, I got to go back to the real world. I got to go back to work. That's currently the feeling that I have right now, where I'm like, oh man, my vacation's over.
I know. I always call vacations like retirement cock tease, right? Because it's like you're getting just a little bit of a taste of what it's going to be like when you don't have to do any of this stuff anymore. But then like, no, back to reality. How many times have you seen Taylor Swift live?
I think this was my 10th time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's been a couple of times now. I've been seeing her since the Fearless era.
So I have to say, I have watched Denise over the last couple of years attend many a wrestling show. And I've attended many a wrestling show with Denise. Sat right next to her.
Will? Where are you going with this?
I'm just saying, this is the first time that I've ever seen you come back from an event and your voice is raspy.
I know. I sound like a smoker.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm surprised my voice isn't gone.
It sounds like it's going.
Vocal cords, but I'm trying to very savor my voice because I still have a full week of shows to go. So I can't be like, whoa, my usual self. So I sound like a smoker right now. I sound like I smoke 10 packs of cigarettes a day.
You do.
Okay, well, let's get into the show. Let's get into the wrestling talk, everybody. It feels so weird because I took Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off from wrestling. That's 4 days of no wrestling where I was like, I'm not, sometimes you just got to step away from whatever it is that you do on a full-time basis. I work 10 to 12 hours a day. So for me to take 4 days off was very rare. I don't do that very often. So for me, it feels so weird, coming back and getting caught up with everything that took place. I saw one wrestling thing related this week. One thing, and it was only because you messaged me about it, and I was like, oh shit. And that was the Kenny Omega Hijo del Vikingo matchup that was announced for Dynamite this week. But if it wasn't for you, Will, I totally was like, I'm not gonna go on Twitter and look at this stuff. I'm gonna tweet my pictures and that's it. I'm not gonna go and look at anything. I'm not gonna go on the websites. I'm not gonna do my usual thing.
This ended up being a good opportunity to promote your interview with Vikingo. And so that was one of those I even thought about it. I'm like, do I bug Denise with this? Yes, I do.
Yes, this is the thing that you plugged Denise for. This was the one exception. However, I was informed, and maybe Will, you can give me some light on this. I was told that apparently there was a bunch of Twitter drama over the announcement of this, and boy, I haven't seen it because I've stayed away from it because I didn't want to be on Twitter. But I was told that there was some mad drama when it came to the announcement of this match. And right away, I knew exactly what it was. And I was just like, what the hell's going on, guys? Come on. Freaking, I'm just going to give my thoughts here really quick, Will. And if you want to chime in on this, since you probably saw the drama unfold, I just want to say that Tony Khan booking Kenny Omega and Hijo del Vikingo is a freaking badass booking. I cannot wait to see this match. And I hope that Tony Khan basically gives this match a shit ton of time on Dynamite. I'm so ready for it. And chances are, for the people that were shitting on this for being for people, I was told, Will, correct me if I'm wrong, that there was people that were upset because they didn't think this was a dream match.
Little bit of everything.
Explain the drama, Will. Explain the drama, because you were on this. I was just told.
Yeah, so this falls under the old Phil Lindsay adage of Twitter is the worst thing on the planet. Or at least he likes to say that Twitter sucks, and he's right in this regard. So, of course, I had heard beforehand, and I had actually told you about this beforehand, but I had heard from some pretty reliable sources that this was going to be a really special episode of Dynamite, but I wasn't exactly sure what that meant. And I heard that Thursday night, and then Friday morning, the announcement comes that it's going to be Vikingo versus Kenny Omega on Dynamite, and Tony Khan has announced it, and the graphic says dream match. And the discourse is going to do what the discourse does, because the initial announcement got all of this excitement. People were like, oh my God, the match we thought we were going to see in December of 2021, we're now finally getting to see on Dynamite, on TV. Kenny Omega's first singles match since November of 2021. And it's in the same arena that he had his last singles match in, where he faced Alan Angels on Dynamite. So it's like, there's a lot of things that come together. It felt really special. There was all this excitement. And then once all the people got their excitement out of the way, then came the people who said one of two things of, oh, is this a dream match? I don't consider this a dream match. I wasn't dreaming about this match at all. And it's like, well, missing the idea that somebody's dreaming about this match. So therefore, hell, the wrestlers involved were dreaming about this match. And so this is something that is special to enough of a sect of the audience to where you can call it a dream match and it works. But of course, the people who are like, well, I don't even know who this Vikingo is, so this isn't a dream match to me. A dream match to me would be Roman versus The Rock, something along those lines. And it's like, okay, but also keep in mind that wrestling is promoting. And in promoting, you can sometimes use puffery jargon to promote your match, and that's fine too. But also, it is a dream match to some people. The other thing that people were doing was the whole, well, why didn't they take some time to introduce Vikingo? They could have announced this on Dynamite. They didn't say a single word on Dynamite. They're just announcing this now. So I did some digging. All day, or all Friday evening and into Saturday morning. And I came to the conclusion based on everybody I talked to. And you know who I've talked to, Denise. And so I've come to some really reasonable conclusions that they did not find out. They've been trying to get Vikingo for this match. They've been trying to get him for a long time. They tried to get him for the Face of the Revolution ladder match. They've been trying to get him for a lot of things. But the fact was, they have not been able to secure any dates because he's really booked and busy. And AEW has also had a strained relationship with AAA, which I'm told has been repaired in recent weeks. But basically, they came to an understanding. Thursday was when that came about. And so they didn't know Wednesday that this match was going to happen. And so on Thursday, that was when they learned. So for people who are like, well, why didn't they promote this on Dynamite? They didn't talk about it enough on Rampage. It's because Rampage had already been taped up for Friday on Wednesday. So that's already in the can. They learned about this Thursday, and the only date they know that they have is next Wednesday's Dynamite. And so they, I think, came to the most reasonable conclusion of, we've got one shot at this match. We've got one shot at Vikingo. We don't know when we're going to have him again. let's do the match. Kenny's already in a bigger story that just kicked off on Dynamite this past week. So this can fall as a dream match that also is more of a pit stop for Kenny on his way to what's going to be a bigger picture, as we saw at the end of Dynamite this week. So I thought everything here was good. As far as the announcement was concerned. But as far as the discourse was concerned, it's just more of the same stuff. It's all of that. Well, what about the casuals? Why didn't they introduce Vikingo to the casual fan? Blah, blah, blah. And to all of that, I say, I'm not even going to say look him up. I'm not even going to say Google him, because I know people get mad when you say that. Although, if you look at the Google trends for Vikingo, they're up like 800%. So, like, clearly people are doing that. But anyway, I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is, if you've never seen a Vikingo match, that's okay. You'll see one on Wednesday. And this can be your introduction to him. That's fine. It is fine for your first match to be this one. And if you come away impressed and want to see more of him, that's a good thing. I know there's this thing where people will kind of... Like, I've seen it a lot this week, where I'm seeing people who have been trashing on this, who have been saying, oh, Tony didn't promote this enough. Oh, this isn't a dream match. Oh, who cares about Vikingo? Things along those lines. And then when AEW fans get mad about it, the response to it is, oh, look, AEW fans just can't take criticism. It's not necessarily criticism to AEW fans if you're just raining on their parade, which is what it feels like is happening there in those moments. It'd be one thing if it's like a generally, if it's generally seen as a detrimental thing. I can see where it's like, okay, that can be seen as constructive criticism. But when it's just like, wait, the fans are excited about something, we need to tell them why they shouldn't be excited. That's not really constructive criticism to me. And it's just obnoxious. I participated in one little piece of this discourse where I just...
You always do, Will.
No. All I did was, after I confirmed every little detail that I just said to you about how this match came together, my tweet simply laid out all of those details and then said to anybody reading this tweet, my question to you is, knowing that you learned about... If you were a booker and you learned on Thursday that you have Vikingo coming in and his only available date is next Wednesday, and you've already taped your previous TV, so you have no other TV to promote him. You can insert a video package into Rampage, which they did. But other than that, what would you do in this instance? And I left it open to people. I wanted to know what people's genuine answers were, with knowing exactly what we know about how this came together. What would you have done? Mostly like the objections were like, well, I just wouldn't have booked the match. I would have put Kenny in something else. And it's like, but okay, you have one opportunity at this match and you pass up on it because of your belief of how things should be promoted. Okay, that's fine. But that was the only thing I was willing to contribute to this awful discourse.
So there's a lot of things that I want to touch on here, and I'm going to touch on them very quickly, because when I heard that this was happening, I kind of had already had a feeling, because I quote retweeted and I put my video out with Vikingo, where Vikingo, because this was a match that was, tried to made multiple times, in AAA, where they tried to make it happen, and, unfortunately shit happens, card subject to change, and it wasn't able to happen. And this was a conversation that I had with Vikingo, and he basically told me during that interview, it was basically, we're going to try to make this match happen. I'm going to try to make this match happen. This is my dream match. This is the match that, so many fans have been wanting to see. And, it was one of those things where I even told him, like, dude, I'm reading in between the lines of what you're saying here, because he was basically telling me this match is going to eventually happen in AEW at some point, but it was clear that he didn't know when. And I even told him, oh, cool, I'm not going to ask you any more questions about this, because I legitimately want to be surprised, because sometimes, they're not going to tell you, they're not going to spoil the surprise there and in the moment, but they gave you enough to basically hint at, hey, this is happening. This is something that's in the works, right? And so, right away it was like, oh shit, like I gotta, put this out there. And right away I noticed one thing, and it was that there were people that were upset about this, putting like snooze emojis or who or this and that. And right away, this took me back to two different occasions that I recall this happening. I recall this happening with Minoru Suzuki when he was booked on AEW. I remember this happening with Ishii when he was also booked in AEW. So anytime there is a group of people that I don't know. I don't know if it's like they don't want to see these cool matches be booked because they don't know the person or they don't want, it's really the extreme people that take the tribalism way too far, where I don't think they want to see cool things happen in the promotion that they're not a fan of because, and so the only way to shit on it is by saying, well, who's this person? Who's that? Who's that? And I remember when the whole Minoru Suzuki discussion came up, I chimed in on that. And first of all, I thought it was very, like, when it comes to certain people in the industry, certain people who have done things, who are game changers in pro wrestling, whatever you want to call them, trailblazers, this and that, I feel like there is a thing where you should kind of be aware of these people, right? Now, with the Vikingo situation, it's different. I get that there's not a lot of people that are familiar with Vikingo, and that's totally fine. There's a lot of people that are not going to be familiar with somebody, and that's okay. You're not going to know every living, breathing wrestler ever, but there is that one small group of people that I feel just want to complain, and they want to complain because they don't know the person, or because they don't want to see this match or this company succeed, or this and that. And I don't want to hear anything about, oh, they should have done this to build them up, this and this and that. I recall back in the day, WCW doing this, with people. For example, Rey Mysterio. How many times wasn't it just like, here's Rey Mysterio, this is the match, you're going to have it because he's
the cruiserweight division literally was just guys just dropped into the show. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Imagine if we didn't get introduced to guys like that. Come on. So for me, it was one of those things where I'm like, nah. On top of that, it also kind of bothered me because I was told about some of the discourse that was going on around this. And there were some comments that were made that I also kind of felt was tied into because he's a luchador. It's almost like you're telling me that because he's a luchador and because he's primarily known in Mexico, that he can't be considered in a dream match scenario. And to me, that was really upsetting when I saw some of the comments, or rather, I was told about some of the comments that were going out there. And I knew it the second that this was announced. I knew that there had to be some portion of that was going to be an issue. But with all that being said, I know this is just a small minority of people that are, complaining and this and that. I know for a fact that when Vikingo goes out there and there's a lot of people that don't know him, they're going to become like instant freaking fans, man. There's a reason why this man is booked all over the damn place. There's a reason why for a while they didn't even want to stream his matches. Finally, they allowed that to do that when he finally got brought into the independents. The second he was brought into the second he got his visa for the United States to be able to work in the United States, it was an explosion of, we want to book him here. We want to book him here. GCW is grabbing him for a bunch of dates. Defy all of these people. And so I just want to say that I'm freaking stoked for this match, and it's okay not to know or be aware of someone, but that does not mean that it's not a dream match for a group of people. Keep in mind, there are more promotions outside of WWE, outside of AEW. There are so many more promotions. Okay, so I really wanted to touch on that because I was a little bit upset when I heard this whole thing, so I had to kind of let out some of that frustration.
And to the people who got roped into it, just remember, this is what's going to happen. Anytime you as a fan are excited about something, especially if you are a fan of really any outside promotion, you're going to deal with the trolls who are there to rain on the parade and just like let it go. Let it slide. It's all bad faith. Nobody's engaging in this in good faith. I have not seen anybody engaging in this in good faith. Even people that I've worked with that I've had respect for, who have engaged in the negative side of it, I even don't necessarily think that their arguments are fully based in good faith.
Right, exactly. All right, heads up, guys, if you do want to help support this podcast and you want to, just keep us funded, keep us going on the special Monday edition of the show, please feel free to send in any super chats. We will read your questions, your opinions, your statements, your hot takes, whatever it is. Feel free to send those in. We actually got our first one here from Taylor Cannon, who says, congratulations on the new gig, Denise, you deserve it. Thank you so much to Taylor.
We're going to address that elephant in the room.
Yeah, so, I mean, This is literally, so for those of you who haven't seen my Twitter yet, I'm officially joining Busted Open Radio. I start this Saturday, and this has been in the works now for months, which Will has known about for months. Thank you for keeping my secret. I literally was found out about the opportunity November of last year. And then January was my audition, that show that I did with Mark Henry. That was my official audition. All the people who needed to be happy were happy. And so they offered me a deal, and I signed my contract not too long ago, a couple weeks ago.
I mean, you posted a Simpsons reference
I
GIF
posted
of
a
you.
Simpsons reference. Well, really, because I Googled on the GIF. No, wait, GIF. I
Thank you.
Googled on the GIF like contract signing, and it was the only thing that popped up. So I was like,
I was
okay.
proud of you for that, actually. So
Oh, it's
thank
not
you.
because I'm a Simpsons fan.
I know.
It was just because that's the only option that was popping up.
But you know I'm a Simpsons guy, so when you posted that one, I'm like, that girl. That's
You're like,
the
I know
one.
what's happening. So anyway, so
Yes.
this has literally been in the works since November, and it's finally happening. I'm very excited. Very, very excited. Van Twinblade sends in a super chat saying, rip SPO, we all miss. Man buff ref.
Yeah, I was really saddened by SPO's passing. And for those of you who don't follow independent wrestling, he's a well-known independent referee. And it was crazy because he had just posted on Twitter about events the night before, and it was just like, that's how quickly it can happen. And but he said, just hug your loved ones. Don't hesitate to tell people in your life that they matter to you, because RIP SPO.
Sheldon Jackson sends in a super chat saying, congrats on the new gig, Denise, working harder than ever. Also, I still haven't forgiven that artist for doing Earth, Wind, and Fire Song of September.
Look, I have chosen not to ever listen to Taylor Swift's cover of September for that very reason. But
Stop hating. You were just talking about raining on people's parade, Will.
look, I said I haven't listened to it, all right?
Thank you so much to Sheldon. I'm very excited to get that going. All right, let me just get caught up with all of the comments here, everybody. I know we kind of took a different route with talking about everything that was going on with Vikingo and Kenny Omega, but we got another super chat here from Anime Otoko too, who says, you know that every woo response on Twitter would, or who, sorry, yeah. I was thinking woo because of Ric Flair. You know that every who response on Twitter would have been treating Vikingo as the next Rey Mysterio if he was turning up on Raw. He's got points.
I mean, look, and the other thing too is this. You guys have to think of it when I say you guys. I know I don't mean our audience, because I know our audience knows better. But when like people see the dream match scenario and things along those lines, like you really have to think about the fact that, just think of it from a country perspective, and thinking about the fact that he hasn't had, his TV experience in the United States has been like Impact, right? So like this is really an opportunity to see a match that under previous circumstances wasn't possible. Almost like you could only dream up this scenario. Almost like it's a dream match. So that's one way to look at that. Another thing is, if your first introduction to somebody is a match on TV, that's happened before. That's how we got introduced to Ricky Starks. That's how a lot of people got introduced to Eddie Kingston. That literally was just like, hey, here's a match featuring this person. That's happened. Either way, just watch it this Wednesday and enjoy.
I feel like I can go on like a 40 more minute rant about this, but I'm not. We got another super chat here from Lastier who says Athena is an early wrestler of the year candidate. Everything with her just clicks. I hope she gets added to the Outcast. They could use a champion. Well, Will, she was on your best of last week.
Yeah, she's been very, very good. I think in this heel role as ROH Women's Champion, she is cooking. I think that I wasn't sure what she was going to end up doing at Supercard of Honor, but it was announced on this week's episode that she's facing Yuka Sakazaki at Supercard of Honor. That'll be really awesome. And I think just continuing to let her reign and dominate and be this bully character that she's being, I think is excellent. She's doing really great. I don't know what they have in mind for her after this, but because I have this feeling over the next few months, as all of the Ring of Honor titles at the moment, and let me make sure I'm making a correct statement, not the tag titles, obviously. They don't really have tag champions at the moment, RIP Jay Briscoe, but the idea that at the moment all of the titles are kind of held by AEW guys. I have a feeling as things progress, we'll start to see those belts kind of phased onto the more core Ring of Honor talent, and that they're kind of using who's holding those belts at the moment to establish the talent that's in Ring of Honor. So I hope she gets a good reign out of this, but I can also see at some point, because she was brought into AEW to be AEW talent, that at some point she'll put somebody over in a good way.
All right, well, let's get into today's show, guys. Let's talk about our best stuff. So heads up, I obviously watched Raw, I watched NXT, I watched AEW, I watched half of SmackDown, half of Rampage, so I'm a little bit behind on some things. So I feel like our list is going to be very different today, than some of the other weeks. But Will, let's get to it. Here we go. What was your third best of the week?
I have to eat crow. I have to admit that Jeff Jarrett kind of rules. And this week...
Will, oh, hells no. Oh, hells no, Will. After all the shit you talked.
Look, all right, my number 3 is the first ever defense of the International Championship.
I'm offended right now.
It is Jeff Jarrett versus Orange Cassidy. I have to say, I don't think there are many people across the entire industry who work as a better heel and get better heat than Double J Jeff Jarrett.
Well, can I just say, I freaking said this.
I know you did. I'm giving you your credit here.
Weeks. No, okay. I need to hear you say it. Denise Salcedo, you were right. Say it, Will. William R. Washington.
Denise, you were right.
You forgot the Salcedo. I need the Salcedo in there.
Denise Salcedo, you were correct.
Thank you very much.
Jeff Jarrett is great. And I recognize that part of my disdain for Jeff Jarrett is the reason he's as good as he is. And the fact that all day Wednesday, I was like just getting annoyed at the possibility of him being international champion, of him beating Orange Cassidy. And I realized by the end of the match, they hooked me. They had me. He had me in the way I'm supposed to be had with professional wrestling. I mean, I literally tweeted out the Drake quote, the "Don't do it, please don't do it," because like literally I did not want to see this happen. But that's how I'm supposed to feel about a heel. And as Jeff Jarrett worked this match, and he just worked it like a smart heel does. He got the crowd in every single instance he's supposed to. Orange Cassidy comes to the ring, and so you have Jeff Jarrett, who of course first enters with his gang, and Orange Cassidy comes off super fearless in the way that he came out without best friends. Of course, we later learned that Chuck Taylor like literally wasn't there because he had to have oral surgery. But so the deck is stacked against Orange Cassidy. He works the match in a way where he has the deck stacked against him. And Jeff Jarrett is just the way he's mocking, the way he does the strut, the way he, of course, heals the crowd with the sharpshooter, all of these things. He's good at this. Like, in the end, in hindsight, after Orange Cassidy, of course, won after Trent interfered, I realized that I probably wouldn't have hated as much as I thought I would have Jeff Jarrett winning in this scenario, and it would have made sense. This was good. This was very good. Jeff's good at what he does.
Well, you're so lucky I'm preserving my voice right now, because the amount of things I want to just shout at you right now. So I want to get on top of the rooftops and be like, God damn it, Will. And here's the thing that I want to say. The reason this did not make my top 3 this week is because, and I'm gonna pull this comment up here from Vance Rollins, who says it sucks that TK didn't pull the trigger on it, and I completely agree. I think that Jeff Jarrett should have won. I think that had he won, there would have been this massive, just like people, there's going to be two sides of it. There's going to be people like me going, oh yeah, let's go with this. Let's see what Jeff Jarrett's going to do with this belt, especially as the heel that he is. And then there was going to be people on the other side of it that were like, you got to be fucking kidding me, this and that. Jeff Jarrett's going to be the champion. How dare he defeat Orange Cassidy? You knew we were going to get those two sides of the, of the spectrum. And so for me, I was a little bit bummed out that he didn't pull the trigger and have Jeff Jarrett win. I honestly honestly think it would have felt just, I don't know, different. Sometimes you need to let the bad guys win, you know? And so I was disappointed that Jeff Jarrett did not win this match. I think this was the time to do it. Get a little bit, let people get a little angry, let people have a little bit of fun with it. I think Jeff Jarrett should have won, and that's the reason why it's not on my top 3.
I mean, I will say the reason it made my list is because one thing I came out of this, and I've been feeling this for a while. Orange Cassidy, I think the numbers are starting to work in his favor and show that he truly is a big pull for AEW. He is one of their top stars, and I came away from this feeling like, you know, with all, and we'll talk about the opening segment later, I'm certain, but talking about kind of all of these stars that AEW has kind of developed over time and who's ready to go at MJF, another person that AEW developed to get there. I came away from this feeling like at some point, Orange Cassidy has to challenge MJF. He does feel like, and because we've only seen that match, I remember we saw it back in 2020 because Orange Cassidy and MJF faced each other for the second Dynamite Diamond Ring. But we never really got much of a feud out of that. And I feel like he is starting to feel like somebody who could be in that position. And so it's 2 levels here. Orange Cassidy is feeling like the top babyface that the company has. And on top of that, Jeff Jarrett feels like a legitimate, hateable heel. It works.
Damn, well, you were just being worked. And I got to read this comment from Tom, who says, on next week's show, Will puts Bray Wyatt as his best of the week.
Oh, yeah. Let's just see Bray Wyatt actually be on a show, and then we'll get there.
Okay, do you think you're going to have a Bray Wyatt anything this year on your best list this year?
Look, I had last year, you know.
We ain't talking about last year.
Okay,
we're talking about this year.
And
last year didn't count because everybody loved that Bray Wyatt promo when he came. Of course, that had to be on the list. That was great. But everything post that, do you think we're going to see another Bray Wyatt best stuff on your list? I mean,
do you know me at all? The only way that happens is if Bray Wyatt comes out to the ring, grabs the microphone.
Mariah Carey?
Yes. No, then it's like number 1 forever.
Okay,
but
what if Mariah Carey came out tomorrow and tweeted, you know what, Bray Wyatt is my favorite wrestler ever?
I would say, Mariah, it's okay to be wrong.
You would not. You would go out and buy a Bray Wyatt t-shirt, have Bray Wyatt #1 fan sign.
Let me say this, though, as far as Bray is concerned. If he came out to the ring, grabbed the microphone, and said, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the last 10 years of my career, and I will never do any of this type of shit again. I'm going to get in the ring and be a normal professional wrestler and not do any of the spooky dookie. At that point, I would go, all right, we're on to something. Because honestly, that was when I was putting Bray stuff on my list last year. A lot of the stuff I was saying was, hey, we're starting to see a more human version of Bray. I can take this. This is good. I like this. Let's keep going in this direction. And then they didn't keep going in that direction, and that stinks. So I will always encourage more of a human version of Bray, and the closer we get to that, the better I will feel about him as a performer.
I get it. But hey, now, you never know. All right, let's see what happens.
Denise, it's your turn. Speak now.
It's my turn.
You're number 3.
So my number 3 is going to go to the debut of Taya Valkyrie in AEW. So the reason this is going on my number 3 is because, you know, I've been following Taya's career for such a long time now. You know, I've seen her wrestle everywhere. And I think that Taya is such an incredible wrestler. I think that she has something so special where she goes in there and she is this legitimate badass. You don't have to suspend your disbelief. That's always something for me that I really enjoy to see. And you buy her matches with whoever she's in there with, whether it's with another woman, whether it's with a man, because she wrestles all types of different matches. It doesn't matter. She's very, very good. And I just think that she has been hustling and busting her ass for so long that she is somebody where I'm like, damn, she really deserves to be, on the top, promotions, whether it be WWE or AEW. When she was in WWE, I really did think that she could have been a person that was easily brought into the main roster, like straight to Raw, straight to SmackDown, and she could have had some phenomenal feuds with any of the women that you would have put her in there. She went the NXT route. They put her on NXT, fine. They changed her name, Frankie Monet. It's pretty much still an extension of her same character of Taya Valkyrie, but she goes out there, and I remember when she had this confrontation right off the bat with Raquel, and we're all thinking like, okay, good, they're taking her right to the top of the NXT women's title picture and this and that, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be so great, and then unfortunately they didn't do much with her, and it was one of those things where then everything happened, the pandemic, and just so much of these things that were out of her control ended up happening, and so she gets released. And she never got her moment in WWE. And that was really sad to see because she could have definitely had a strong run, and she would have been so many people's favorites on there. She could have had awesome matches with whomever. So I was always thinking like, man, I really hope I see Taya in AEW because, that's the next promotion where you're going to get the most eyeballs. And so for her to finally get there and finally have this moment in AEW, I just thought, you know what, that is years and years and years of hard work. Like she's somebody like you have to have, like, I have so much respect for her. She's Canadian. Not only didn't just go and work, the independent scene in the United States, she went and busted her ass in Mexico, learning how to speak Spanish, learning how to go out there. Shit, I just think that it's so hard to do something like that, especially as a woman who doesn't know the language, and having to go out there and be fearless and do that in another country. It's something very admiring. And so anyways, I also like the way that they did the swerve of it all, where they had Jade Cargill go up against Nicole Matthews, who, I didn't know who she was or anything. And they did the quick squash, this and that. And then finally having Jade Cargill basically saying like, oh, is this all we have? Is this all Canada has to offer? And it was in that moment you're like, okay, let's see, is Taya going to come out? And then she finally comes out. She has this confrontation with Jade Cargill. And then I got to watch her squash the match that she did on Rampage. This feels like the first time that there is an opponent for Jade Cargill that I can legitimately buy as someone who can defeat and actually take the title away from Jade Cargill. Because one of my things that I have not necessarily liked is that I feel that for so many of Jade Cargill's matches, they really haven't always given the challenger a reason for the people to actually believe or buy or trick them into thinking that they're actually going to defeat Jade Cargill. Every match has kind of felt pretty direct and pretty much similar to so many of the previous matches. And so for me, this feels like such a big program. And not only if they play their cards right, not only is this program going to, do what it needs to do for Taya in AEW to get her started off on the right foot, but it's also going to continue to elevate Jade Cargill, because being in the ring with someone as experienced as Taya is only going to make Jade Cargill look even better. I'm hoping that Taya either has a great program with Jade where, Jade continues to get over, or if she just wins the title. I would love to see her win the title. I think it would be time. I don't know if they want to get to some interesting number. I don't know if that's in the plans or what, but I would like to see Taya become a TBS champion. Thoughts, Will?
That's not what I was expecting on your list at all. But I can see why you see it that way. And I agree with the idea that Taya is the first person that feels like she's at Jade's level. I feel like Jade has had some good challengers. Like I feel like Red Velvet was a good challenger, but everybody felt like they were kind of climbing the mountain. Whereas I feel like Taya does come off as the first challenger to Jade that is the mountain, that is another mountain like she is. And I love that. Of course, they both have the same finisher, so therefore there's stuff you can do with that. I do think that this is the type of challenger Jade needs. And yeah, I'm in on this. This feels good.
Hell yeah. All right, let's go. Let's keep it going. Number 2, Will, what was your second best of the week?
My second best of the week was very, very good. It was the opening of this week's Dynamite, in which we saw the Pillars And this was something we all speculated about literally last week. We talked about it on this show. And the only concern I had was, how do you insert Sammy Guevara into this when really Sammy's already like got a thing going on? He's involved in the trios title stuff, and that happened later in the show. But either way, they found a way to do it. Start with the opening of the segment. MJF makes his way out with the sunglasses on, and he's ready to celebrate his bar mitzvah. So, those of you not in the know on this particular topic, my wife is Jewish and comes from a Jewish family. And so she watches MJF with a very close eye for a number of reasons. But one of the things she appreciated about this segment was she loved its authenticity through its absurdity. She was like, I can tell this was written and put together by, if not MJF himself, somebody Jewish in the room had their fingerprints on this, because it was very much she loved that it felt like it came from MJF. And it very much did. So, of course, he opened the segment and he berated the fans. He talked about how, Judaism is the only religion that matters, and we're the chosen people. And I had concerns about that, of course. I will always have concerns about.
I love that he had the guts to go there. Are you kidding me? I loved it. I'm not going to get offended.
No, it's not getting offended.
Yeah,
it's
I
about,
loved it.
It's about positioning the fans to boo it.
Exactly.
That's where I get concerns, right? Because it's like there's so much anti-Semitism out there.
There's some people that I know they don't like the low-hanging fruit stuff. I'm sorry. I love it. I don't care. I
will just always have concerns about putting the fans in a position to possibly
to hate on.
Yeah,
I see.
Right. And that's I'm always like on the fence about things along those lines.
Rational, normal people are going to react in a rational, normal way.
Right. But there's always that guy in the audience that's like,
of course.
That's going to use it as an excuse to basically spout some.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, anti-Semitic stuff. And so I'm always like, you want to give people that power. But I feel like they did it right here. I thought it was very good. And of course, then just as the celebration gets underway, though, he is interrupted by Jungle Boy. And I think they're going to have to reach a point where they got to do something about Jungle Boy's music. And I don't mean it from the perspective of, it's a good song. People like it. But they can't use it on social media. And I think they're running into problems with it because, like, if you watch the segment on YouTube, which I just watched it back this morning just to figure out what I'm doing, and his entrance isn't in the clip. Literally every other licensed song they use can be there. This one cannot. And so I feel like they have to do something about that. Which I know Mikey Ruckus made a cover of the song. Maybe use that. So before he can speak, he's interrupted by Sammy Guevara. And then before he can speak, big pop for Darby Allin, who we haven't seen since he was defeated by Samoa Joe. So great to see him. And MJF asks what they want in very cute fashion. They all say that they want a title match, and they all make their case. You had Jungle Boy make his case that he faced last time he faced MJF, because he's faced him twice. Once was at the San Antonio show. I think it was San Antonio, Texas, February.
Girl, do not fact check with me. Fact check with yourself.
I
don't got that kind of memory.
February 12th, 2020. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I think that's what it was.
Chat will handle that.
Let me know, because I don't have the chat in front of me, but tell me if I'm right, chat. But anyway, and then they faced each other at Double or Nothing 2020 in that 20-minute match, in the one where people really felt like MJF and Jungle Boy. That was like really one of the first like wrestling matches that I ever felt like I felt good about in front of the pandemic audience. And so after that, he then mentioned how after that, MJF cheated to win, and they went their separate ways. They went on very different paths. Jungle Boy talks about how he went on to wrestle on Dark and Elevation, and meanwhile, MJF has never wrestled on those shows. Hell, MJF has never even been on Rampage. And I said that out loud. As soon as he mentioned the Dark and Elevation thing, I was like, wait, hell, MJF has never been on Rampage. And then Jungle Boy goes, have you even been on Rampage? And I was like, damn, he brought all of that up. Some
There
felt
it is,
like he
February 12th, 2020.
look at that.
Thank you,
I know
Ryan
my
Smith.
stuff. So either way, I had no doubt about that, by the way.
You know what, Will? Now you're just wanting the attention, okay? Now you're just wanting the attention. You're just wanting the like, oh,
I
Lil's
know.
so great.
You're probably right. But anyway, and then of course you had Sammy Guevara, who brought up his stuff and how I didn't necessarily like a little bit about Sammy Guevara stuff. I didn't like him mentioning that he was supposed to be a jobber or the bump guy. I feel like there were wrestling ways you could have mentioned that without using the terminology.
I liked that.
Because I feel like
I thought that felt that felt true to what he was talking about to make his case. I did like that.
I feel like in the context of the show, though, what does that mean?
Well, everybody knows that there's going to be those guys that are, just positioned to be in certain spots.
But like as a jobber, I mean, in his mind, as a professional wrestler, what does that matter? He's come in to win. So like I don't like when anybody references being a jobber on TV, because like what is a jobber in the context of the show? I don't like those are certain terms.
I don't mind it because I think I got exactly what he was trying to say, and I thought it hit very nicely where, he was talking about how, he was just somebody that was supposed to be, whatever's, right? Meanwhile, MJF was always positioned to do
right.
this
I like the sentiment behind it. I just think that there were other terms he could have used. But I did like how he mentioned how he overcame all of that, became 3-time TNT champion, and the crowd was behind him until he said, whether you like it or these dumbass Canadians like it. And then it was like, okay, we have to remember he's a heel here.
Right.
And he's got a match later on, so let's not cheer this guy. But I think the star of this whole segment was Darby Allin.
Thank you. I voted him the star of this too. Yes. Okay, continue on.
Yeah, I thought Darby was the star of the segment. I loved how he talked about dropping out of film school because he couldn't be himself there, and he always told himself when he got into professional wrestling that he was either going to succeed as Darby Allin or he wasn't going to do it. And he mentioned how that must make him the worst businessman on the planet because there'll never be a bidding war for Darby Allin, but AEW has allowed him to be himself, and that's all he'll ever be is himself. And I loved all of that, and I liked that. I think the reason he was the star of this segment to me was because when you look at what Jungle Boy had to say and you look at what Sammy had to say, for the most part, I think the piece Jungle Boy was missing was that he made the case against MJF, but didn't necessarily make the case for himself. I feel like Sammy made a little bit of
he did make the case for himself, though, in the sense that he was saying, you're not appearing on these shows. You're not working as hard as I am. I am, because I'm appearing on Dark. I'm appearing on Dark Television. I've appeared on Rampage. I've done the work, this and that. I do think he made his case for himself in that sense, where he's saying that's why he said you haven't appeared on these shows.
Sure, and
I
got that, but I guess what I'm saying is that the strongest case made for the talent in the ring was Darby Allin. And the way that and you could hear it from the fans who all agreed with what he was saying, that, you know what, that is why we love you, Darby, because you are just Darby Allin. And then he, of course, talked about people in the back who jump on Twitter and whine about not getting pushes.
That was my favorite part.
Oh my
that
God.
was my favorite part.
And then
he had some guts to go there.
Yes. But either way, I liked all that. And then, of course, he took off the glasses. You could see, or MJF took off the glasses as he got angry there. You saw he had the 2 black eyes. His eye was red. And at that point, you could... and then he told him he looked like shit. I thought all of this was great. And then, of course, he landed in the cake. Afterward, you knew once there was a cake there, it was ending up on somebody. It's fine that it ended up on MJF. I love this. I thought this was a great way to show us that we really have gotten here with the pillars. We're getting the pillar match. I'm into this. This was great. Denise, I have a feeling you have something to say, but I don't know when you're going to say it.
I have to say that it's time for my second best of the week.
There you go.
My second best of the week was actually the main event of Dynamite, and that was the House of Black, the Elite, the Jericho Appreciation Society, with also including the ending of the said show. So for me, first of all, I want to talk about the match. Like the whole entire thing from the moment they came out to the end is my number 2. The match itself, The reason why it's on there, dude, they delivered in every aspect of the way that you could expect from these three teams. There was holy shit chants before the match even started. That's pretty damn cool to see in a scenario like that. There were so many different aspects of it. We were obviously getting the type of match that you would expect from these guys. The confrontation between Jericho and Kenny Omega when they finally had their little moment in between this match, I thought that was really great. Kenny Omega, man, he was just freaking. All these guys were great, but I do want to talk about Kenny for a second because he was the guy that was just like literally everywhere in every single aspect of this match. And I loved some of the sequences that he had with Brody King and Buddy Matthews specifically. Those were some of the moments that really stood out for me. Just everything that they did here, like anytime he hits those snapdragon suplexes, God, this is so enjoyable to see. Like I give bonus points every time I see them just because they're so nice and so fun to see. Obviously, we see the Young Bucks do their, super kick party on literally everybody and their mothers. Brody coming in and doing the clothesline to them right afterwards. It was just a nice fun sequence of events that made this very fun. House of Black getting their win as it should. They should win. I didn't want to see them lose in this scenario, considering they just got the titles, and I think they really need to be champions and keep moving forward and growing as a trio. All of this was great. And then the after portion where we had, basically the Blackpool Combat Club go out there and have this confrontation with Hangman Adam Page. Hangman Adam Page then gets backed up by the Elite. It was that visual of, oh shit, this is the direction that we're going in, was very fun to see, because I remember kind of thinking, like, prior to this going, like, I kind of wanted this whole thing between Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page to kind of wrap up a little bit, to completely wrap up, actually. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted it to be, I thought that Revolution was the nice way to close it all out and have that ending, right? And when they continued it, I thought, okay, well, let's see where they go from here. And the fact that this is now the direction that we're heading in, and that, we're including the Elite on this, and we're having this, this circle back to the history with the Hangman and with the Elite, all of that to me kind of felt like a big deal. I thought they did a really good job of closing out the show, making you feel excited about what you can expect for, the coming weeks. So this to me had to be on my second best.
I'm sorry that this didn't make my list. I really am, because I love this so much. And so
now I'm curious. I don't know what your number one is.
I mean, you have to know what my number one is. I think the chat knows what my number one is. But
do I?
Yeah,
was that one of the shows I watched?
I mean,
what if I missed it?
You may have missed it. I don't know.
Okay.
But either way, I had a lot of fun with this match. I think all of these guys have a reputation for being able to put on this type of content. And so you knew what this was going to end up being. Of course, I didn't even think about the fact that we've never really seen a three-way trios match. And so to pull this off the way that they did, and even tease the fans with certain things, because of course this was in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So you get to see Chris Jericho, who was Winnipeg royalty, and they showed that earlier in the show. You get to see Kenny Omega, who this was really his first time getting to perform in front of this large of an audience in his hometown. And when they did the tag-ins, and like Chris Jericho gets tagged in, and then Malachi gets tagged in, the crowd is like, holy shit. And then Kenny tags Malachi, and we see Kenny and Jericho in the ring again, and the crowd is going nuts, and then everybody gets jumped and they go to commercial break. But the way they were able to tease that stuff was a lot of fun. And I think the ending especially, I've said the best TV endings in general, but especially AEW, I felt like they haven't done this in a while, of hook me into wanting to see what's going to happen next week. I feel like that's the way you've got to go off the air. And it had been a while since they had done so. But the way that they integrated everything from earlier in the show, with Hangman and the Dark Order getting jumped by the Blackpool Combat Club, Hangman being isolated, making his way into the ring, and then as soon as Blackpool Combat Club gets up on the apron, the Elite enter the ring, and crowd goes nuts, and we go off the air. That's like peak Nitro stuff. That is exactly the way you want a show to go off the air, because you get everybody talking about what the possibility of things are next. And of course, after the show went off, we got footage of Kenny Omega not being okay with this. Kenny left the ring. And he wants no part of this. And I don't know if you saw Being the Elite this morning,
I
but
haven't yet. No.
the show ends with Matt Jackson starting up a group text. And he texts Hangman and Nick and Kenny. And he's like, all right, let's get the gang back together. And then you see Nick responds positively and Hangman responds positively. And then it says, Kenny has left the group chat. And so
Not even left them on red. He left the group
he
chat.
left the group chat. So a lot of things could happen here. I've seen people speculating on the possibility of a Golden Lovers reunion. And
I wish, and there is that possibility. It feels like it.
yeah, right. But then I like the idea of, it's just Kenny being reluctant to team with Hangman after all of their history together over the last couple of years. But then on the top of that, you have the Blackpool Combat Club, who isn't fully complete at the moment because there's one member of the Blackpool Combat Club who's at home and he's witnessed a change in their demeanor. Is he okay with this? I don't know. I feel like, we can go into Double or Nothing with the possibility of a 4-on-4 match, but both teams have that reluctant member. One has Kenny on this side. The other has Brian on this side. Is Brian okay with this? Is Kenny okay with this? I'm suddenly into this story. I love this. It plays well into all of the folklore of the Elite. I am all in. Let's go.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and press on from here. Also, let's see. Hold on one second. All right. Why am I forgetting what's next? Is worse next?
It's worse.
Yeah,
of
worse.
The week.
Oh my God, this always happens. I'm like, wait, what's next? I forget the own format of my own show. All right, Will, worst. Oh no, wait. Did I do my second best?
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
That was your second best we were just talking about.
Oh shit, sorry. My brain's like all right. Worst of the week. Here we go. What was your worst, Will?
I don't know. I struggle to even pick a worst because I enjoyed a lot about this week, to be honest.
I struggled too, but I just went with something. I went with something that I just thought was like, this is lame. So when I can't think of something that's like really bad, I just go the lame/boring direction.
Well, right now, I am just on the idea that I would like to see more from Legado del Fantasma. I feel like I'm not necessarily a big fan of how this act is being presented right now. Like right now they're being seen as I think there is a good payoff for them in obviously Santos Escobar being a big Rey Mysterio fan and him wanting to pay homage to his hero, all of that. There's ways you could go with that. You could return him heel at some point, turn him on Rey. Places you can go with that. But just being cannon fodder to this Dominic Mysterio feud right now isn't enough for me, and I just want to see more. So, again, I liked so much from this week's TV that this isn't even like a this sucks. This is just more of a come on, guys. Like, give me more. And I just feel like this match was so short. It was really just I feel like both Zelina and Santos basically served as cannon fodder to Dominic's feud with Rey and to help empower Rhea a little bit more. And I feel like Rhea needs a lot more. Like I feel like the stuff with Charlotte took a step up this week.
I liked their promo, the back and forth that they did there. I thought Rhea did a really good job of like putting Charlotte over, but not in a way where, in a way that serves a purpose, right? Where she's talking about why she actually picked her to be her opponent at WrestleMania. I did like it, and I did like that it actually led to them actually getting physical with one another, because that was one of the things that I think was also kind of lacking in this feud, was you wanted to see them really, go to town on each other.
This still really does not. This is one of those times I'm really hoping Dave's wrong, because this is not feeling main event worthy. And the big reason that I feel it's not main event worthy, I talked about this on Grapsity.
So what else would you consider right now that has been announced so far main event worthy?
Oh, nothing that's been announced so far, but the thing that hasn't been quite announced, should be the main event. But the reason I don't feel this should be main event, because I know a lot of people have just been saying that it's not a worthy storyline. But more than that, there's no outcome that I feel is worthy of closing the show. Rhea wins. cool. A heel just won, closing out one night of WrestleMania.
But she's an interesting heel, though. She's the heel that you want to cheer for. So I do think she would get cheered.
I just
Even
feel
though
like
she's a heel. Even though she's a heel, like, I'm going to cheer for her when she wins.
I don't feel like it's a Mania closing moment. I feel like there's,
of course,
especially if the other moment happens with the tag titles, which is going to be one of those, everybody's going to be screaming their heads off, hugging the people next to them. You know how that moment's going to be received.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, after, you mean to tell me after that, assuming that's on night one, of course, that the possibility of Rhea winning would go on last? That feels like, I don't think that would get the big pop.
I would have to move it to night two.
Yeah. And then on top of that, then you have Charlotte. Let's say she wins. She may be a babyface, but she's not a babyface anybody wants to see win. So that is not an outcome anybody wants to see either. I feel like neither
polar opposite.
I think neither outcome is worthy of going on last. And that's something I'm like really concerned about. I know that they want the women to go on last. And honestly, if this was a story worthy of going on last, I'd be all in celebration. But I don't think this should be it.
I get it. All right, we got a super chat here from Dream Ninja 77 who says, just got home from work. Please tell me you saw the Mustafa Ali tweet about 25 minutes ago. Has to be on your best of the week this Sunday. I didn't see it.
I've been on this show for the last
hour. We've been on here for the last 25 minutes. Will, do you want to pull that up?
I'm pulling it up. I need to see what this is.
Dream Ninja, thank you so much for setting this in and making us aware of it. He usually does pretty good stuff on Twitter, like some of the videos that he has posted, and he gets really good attention with his tweets. So I'm not surprised that this is probably going to be a good one. But thank you so much to Dream Ninja 77 for sending in this super chat. A heads up, guys, if you do want to get your question, your comment, or your statement read here on the show, you're more than welcome at any point to send in a super chat. It just helps us stay funded, keeps me paying Will to keep coming back each and every single week. You got it. Why are you making that face? What's the tweet? What's the tweet, Will?
Is he singing The Reason by Hoobastank?
That song's so old. He's just singing? That's all it is?
Oh, but his hair is blowing in the wind. It's...
Oh, great. Now I got to see this. Send me the link on the private chat, please. All right. In the meantime, I'm going to read this super chat from Mike T90K who says, hey, Denise, AEW prediction. They get a new TV deal, 6 years, 500 mil, and have the most profitable year in 2024. Do you have one? Ooh, I don't have anything right now for 2024. I just did my 2023 predictions not too long ago, and I did my Vince McMahon one kind of came true. So.
Yes. It did.
So you guys can kind of check that one out. But I feel I'm hoping that AEW has a good 2024 and, every year after that. Thank you so much to Mike T90K for sending that in. Van Twinblade, I just saw this. Number one's checking out is Masha choking out Nick Gage and getting that bout. I am like GCW is the promotion that would definitely go like all the way with this. And I think Masha Slamovich is such a freaking badass that you're like, holy shit, if you're going to buy, anybody going in there with Nick Gage and doing this and becoming champion, it's definitely Masha Slamovich. So that's definitely on my list to watch because I want to see how that played out. And I want to see the moment of Masha winning. Like, I can't believe it. Like, when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, instantly on my list to watch. Thank you so much to Van Twinblade for also mentioning this. This was something I did want to mention on the show as well. Okay, so thank you so much to Will for sending in the tweet. Let me take a look at this really quickly. Tomorrow is the anniversary of Retribution disbanding. Instead of being mad about how the members were ungrateful, I've decided to forgive them. Here's my love note to Retribution.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like dancing and singing. Oh, his hair is great. He looks like a cover girl. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to put the sound on because I don't want to get copyrighted, but he looks like he's in a commercial for Cover Girl. Very attractive man. All right. Let's see. Will, you're just quiet. You're like,
I mean, I watched the whole thing. Look, Mustafa Ali.
You can't look at Mustafa Ali and not be like, oh, damn, hello there. Well, I know. Yeah. Okay. All right. Where are we at with this show?
You're at your worst. Yes.
All right. Damn, I'm sorry, guys. I still got vacation brain. I'm falling apart here. Worst of the week for me is kind of something that I just kind of thought was just there. And because it is part of the build to WrestleMania, once again, I'm going with Brock and Omos. And
I was close to picking that, and I thought, yes, I don't want to pick on this anymore.
There was a lot of things that I considered kind of lame, uninteresting, just there. But I chose this one because this is a match that we're going to be seeing at Wrestle Freaking Mania with Brock Lesnar. And for me, this feels kind of like just so forced. It's just so forced. It feels like if there's one thing that doesn't belong, it's this. You know, one of these
crowds
things
are
is not
buying
like
it.
But I think they were doing it in a mocking way where they started chanting "Holy shit!" I feel like it was an inside joke type of thing. I didn't take that seriously. Did you?
I don't know, because the video has like over 1 million views on YouTube. Like, there is an audience for this.
Who are these people? Where are they? Are they on this show?
If
you're here, please introduce yourself.
Not me. I am definitely on the page of there's plenty of other things they could have done. I think, like, maybe the visual of Brock F5ing Omos will probably be kind of cool. But other than that, no, I don't care about this.
I mean, I guess him putting his hand on his face was, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, but like the messing up the one spot of getting thrown out of the ring, and that told me, okay, is that what this match is going to look like? All right, this is going to be a really long 5 minutes because this match won't exceed that. And
I'd be surprised if it exceeded 5 minutes. I mean, if it even went 5 minutes, excuse me.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to do one of those things where because every year they try to do like the beat the record of, fastest win in WrestleMania.
Problem with that is that it's 6 seconds now because of The Rock beating Eric Rowan. So I
don't think that they can. 6 seconds is just so fast.
Yeah.
Can you do it faster than 6 seconds?
I don't think so. Because what an F5? No.
Because I just think Omos is too slow.
Right.
I think he's too slow to get to lose fast. You got to be fast for that, right?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this at all. So I see why this is on your list. I just feel like I've been picking on this enough.
Literally just because it's so lame.
Yeah.
All right. We got a super chat here from Tom Germano who says, towards Will's future Jeff Jarrett shirt. I'm going to get you that for Christmas. That's going to be your Christmas
I mean, honestly, shout out Jeff Jarrett, though. Like, he was a good pickup for AEW when you really think about it. Because thinking about, like, did you see how the house show performed this week?
No, I haven't yet.
So AEW had their first house show in Troy, Ohio, which, of course, is the thing that Jeff Jarrett was hired for, was putting together house shows. And it was practically a sellout. Everybody was raving about their experience. And
how many people? What was the sellout number?
I mean, so it's like 3,000 people. It's a very small venue, but
I mean, it's Troy, Ohio. This is the first time I've heard of it. I've never heard of Troy, Ohio in my life until now.
That was kind of the point, was that Jeff Jarrett talked about it. I've listened to interviews with him. I listened to his podcast, and he talked about how he came in to really market AEW to those cities that would probably never get a Dynamite, but would love to see their favorite wrestlers. And so they started with Troy, Ohio. But hey, they still got to see Bloody Moxley. Moxley actually bladed at a house show.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. He actually did.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but
hey,
show
man, you've
everybody.
Heard that saying, you perform the same way if you were going to be performing in front of 10 people or 10,000 people.
Everybody who went, though, said it was great. They and I I look at that going, okay, that's what Jeff Jarrett was brought in for, to expand the live events. They've got another one planned for their Canada tour, and it's good for certain guys to get in reps. I know Britt Baker faced Anna Jay. Like, that's a perfect scenario for Anna Jay, right? Like, she needs those reps in front of fans, but at the same time, you don't necessarily want to do that on TV. That's great for her.
And also for people that are not continuously every single week wrestling. So, like, even though Britt is someone that's a featured act, it's not like she's having matches every week either. She may be in a segment, cutting a promo, doing a run-in, stuff like that.
Yeah. I feel bad because, like, if you've ever read John Moxley's book, if there's one thing, and as a matter of fact, that book is sitting right here. But if there's one thing that John Moxley hates, it's house shows. And the fact that he's advertised for this, he was advertised for this house show.
Why does he hate house shows?
So he has said that he hates the idea of going out there and busting your ass in a setting where people aren't going to see it. Like, he'd rather work an indie, because at least with an indie, that show's going to be archived, it'll be put online, things along those lines. But the idea that this show's never going to be seen by anybody other than the people in that building, to him, he feels like, he talked about working house shows leading up to WrestleMania back in 2016. And he's like, I'm here on a house show that barely anybody cares about. I've got a WrestleMania match coming up. If I get injured at this house show, I'm screwing storylines and nobody even saw it happen. And so, like, I think it's funny that house shows are his least favorite thing, and he is the front guy advertised on AEW's 2 house shows. And he got pulled from an indie booking to do this house show.
Because he still hasn't gone on his vacation.
Still hasn't gone on his vacation. I'm like, oh my God, John Moxley having to work these shows.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much to Tom for sending that in. It's much appreciated. All right. And we got another super chat here from Giuseppe, who says, Denise, you got Taylor confetti in your hair. I was going to say, I took a shower. That's actually just my hair. But I wish I still had confetti in I did collect confetti from the floor, though. I was walking around just picking some up, putting it in my bag. I do weird things, Will. Giuseppe, thank you so much
for the
super chat.
I've watched
and for making me check my hair now. I'm like, I took 2 showers since the time I've got back, okay? Anime Utako too says, this gives me hope of an event in Scotland when AEW comes over for the show down in London. Heck, give me Dynamite in Glasgow. Sounds fun, man. Sounds really fun. I really hope you get those events, seriously. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much, Anime Otaku. I wish I could add more to that, but I probably can't contribute anything more than that. All right. Miguel says Denise still has vacation glow. I still got vacation brain. All right, here we go. Will, your first best of the week. What was your favorite thing? And I figured it out, by the way. But
yes,
continue
of course. Guys, Kevin and Sami reunited. Everything about this I loved. I know some people didn't even like the Cody Rhodes proud dad moment. Are you kidding me? I'm going to get so much use out of that. But
you would. Yeah. You
would. Of course, the night starts out. Kevin Owens is called out by Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes says we all got to get on the same page. And he wants these two to just talk it out. And Cody makes a plea to Kevin Owens. He reminds Kevin Owens that, hey, you're the guy who introduced me to the Young Bucks, which led to everything that led me here. So I owe you at least that, and I owe you getting you back on the same page with Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn pleads his case to Kevin. Kevin just doesn't want to hear it. He walks off. And I was thinking maybe we're still another week away from actually seeing a payoff here. Maybe we don't even get a payoff till WrestleMania. I don't know, as far as us finally getting that moment. But as Kevin goes to get in his car, and it's a recurring theme in this storyline, Sami Zayn says to Kevin, I just want to say to you, man, I love you. And he walks off. And I knew it. I knew in that moment, it was like, that's going to be what tipped Kevin back over, was hearing that. Because Kevin Owens saying earlier in the show that, Sami says, look, we don't have to be friends. We need to beat the bloodline. And Kevin's like, why would I want to work with somebody who doesn't want to be my friend? Like, after all we've been through, you showed me you didn't want to be my friend. And that was the most important thing here. But, of course, so we get the ending segment. Sami Zayn and Jey Uso confrontation. And it turns out that's not as cut and dry as we thought, right? Because Sami Zayn talks to Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn tells Jey that it's not me you were mad at, it's Roman. And the look on Jey Uso's face when he kind of looks over as if Sami might be a little right. So it's not exactly as done deal with Jey Uso as we may have thought. He may still have some conflicting feelings. He may still be anti-bloodline, but he has to stay loyal to his brother. And then he attacks Sami. Sami gets jumped. And out comes Kevin Owens for the save. After that, they kind of stare each other down. Crowd is chanting, hug it out. And they got what they wanted. The two of them hugged. They cut to the back. Cody Rhodes just has that proud dad look on his face like, my mission is accomplished. I know some people hated that. I know some people were like, Cody had nothing to do with any of this, and yet he gets to be the guy who saved the day and brought these two back together. I hate this. I love this. This was a great heartfelt moment. This was everything for me. Kevin and Sami back together forevermore. I love this. I had so much fun. And there's almost a little tear there. I was happy to see Kevin and Sami back together.
So I watched this morning today,
Mhm.
actually right before the
You
show.
watched this right before the
Yeah, like
show.
literally right before the show. I was literally watching it as I hopped on
I'm
here.
like, hi, Denise. She's like, sorry, watching SmackDown.
Yeah, I was trying because I'm like, okay, I know something happened on SmackDown, so I got to make sure to watch that. So I did get to watch like the main segments for SmackDown. But anyway, so for me, this like the beginning, I think for me didn't necessarily work as much. The whole Cody kind of like being the freaking I don't know mediator between them. But I did like when Kevin Owens was still just not complete sold on it. He walks out, all of that. That was fine. But I will tell you what my favorite part of all of this was, besides the big moment where Sami and Kevin Owens hug it out. That was great. And the fans are like, great reaction. But for me, the part that I most loved about all of this was how angry Jey Uso was at Sami because he said, he tells him, everybody, I hated, I disliked you from day one. I disliked you. Everyone liked you. Even Roman Reigns liked you. Everyone liked you, but I didn't. And then him basically saying that, he embarrassed him by he finally sticks up for him, and then Sami Zayn goes off to embarrass him, and he tells him like, you were a fake ass oos. Everything that he kind of said in that moment, that was my favorite part. That to me was the part that I was like, you know what, like Jey Uso, yeah, you can. It's one of those things where you're obviously on Sami Zayn's side in this story, but you can clearly see and also understand the perspective of where Jey Uso is coming from, where you understand why he's stuck with his brother. I mean, shit, it's his twin brother. You understand why he's stuck with the bloodline. You understand why he did what he did, but you also understand how he can be upset at Sami Zayn for all of this. So to me, that was my favorite part in all of that. That actually kind of made to me that felt like a big moment. And so when we finally had Kevin Owens come out there and help out Sami Zayn, that was cool to see because you were wondering when it was going to happen, how long they were going to hold off until WrestleMania, and you knew they had to pull the plug eventually because we're winding down, like we're literally at WrestleMania in like 2 weeks or whatever. And so for me, the specific moment that I most loved though was Jey Uso saying his shit to Sami Zayn and having his moment to defend himself as to why. I actually thought this was better than what Jey Uso did the last week, because I didn't really care for Jey Uso's speech the last week, but this one to me just hit a lot stronger having that face to face with Sami Zayn. So
I agree.
I get it. I feel like I get why this was on your number one. For me, it didn't make my number one, unfortunately. I'm sorry. My number one is actually going to go to something we already talked about on this show, which is why I didn't talk about it and I continued on. And it was the opening of Dynamite. Now, I'm not going to go and rehash everything that I was going to call you MJF, Will, everything that Will said. But I do want to just touch on this really quickly and why it was my number one. The reason I went this direction, Will, is because I felt so excited about all of the possible scenarios that can be had here. All of, with Darby Allin, with Jungle Boy, with Sami, with MJF, all of these guys, whether they go, the direction of going and doing all of these singles matches, whether they just go flat into the four-way, whatever it is that they decide to do, for me, that was exciting because, we've been talking so long about, the future of AEW, the future of AEW. Well, shit, the future's here. It's here and now. And this is the time to get creative with it. This is the time to do something with it. And I loved Jungle Boy coming out there and, doing his portion of the promo where, we just talked about it earlier, him talking about how MJF hasn't done all of the things that he does. I didn't think that it was one of those things where Jungle Boy started and I'm like, oh, it's really good. But then Sammy Guevara did better. But then Darby Allin did the best. So to me, it felt like as each promo went on, the next person kind of outdid the previous person. And to me, the little low hanging fruit between Sammy and MJF with the fiance talk and this and that, I really like that. I know some people don't like that stuff. I like that stuff because to me, I like things that really kind of just make you go, oh shit, they really went there. I love anytime we can get anything like that. So I was totally cool with that. But I agree with you when you said that Darby won this. And I think he won this because he did something, and it was a little thing that to me was freaking hilarious. When he was talking about people complaining on Twitter, right? And he was mocking them and saying how that was never going to be him and this and that, right? And then at the end, he kind of ties it back and makes a joke saying, if I don't get this title match, what am I going to do? I'm gonna go complain on Twitter. And that to me was freaking hilarious because so one of the things, Will, that I love to do is I love to watch comedy. Comedy is like my favorite thing. I will watch like so many stand-ups, like that's what I love to watch. And you always see that in comedy. You see the person set you up in the beginning, and then in the end, you get the something that connects you to what they said in the beginning. And to me, Darby Allin did a version of that here in this promo, and I really kind of just liked that so much. So for me, Darby definitely won this, but I'm more so excited to see what they're going to do with all of these guys here. Like, this is really, for me, I think Sami has always had great matches, but I think now is the time to kind of get him off of always just, obviously he's still going to be part of the Jericho Appreciation Society, but so much of what he has recently done has just been primarily tied to Jericho, where you sometimes forget his own identity as, just Sammy Guevara himself. So I want to see Sammy Guevara in his own, identity, do his own thing. And, Darby, this is the perfect way to launch him off of that, losing the TNT title and this and that. And Jungle Boy, I mean, he's pretty much a jungle man at this point. He put away Luchasaurus. He freaking sent Christian Cage like a million feet below the ground. So for me, this was definitely the best way to move forward with all of these guys, where they all needed this and need this to continue to grow on AEW. So this to me was my favorite thing of the week.
Yay. It's my second favorite.
I know. So you already talked about it. So there you go.
No, I'm glad it's on the list.
Exactly. All right, everyone. So there you go. That was After the Week here on this special Monday edition. We will be back at our normal time next week. So please make sure to join us. We're here on Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we talk about everything that went down the week, just like we did right now. But before we go, Will, please let the people know where they can find you and all of that good stuff.
So I can be found on a number of shows I do. I do Grapsity. I do Day After Dynamite. Speaking of which, if you're a fan of Day After Dynamite, I don't know how you spend your midnights, but next week, because I'll be traveling, I'll actually be doing a late night edition of Day After Dynamite.
After dark?
Yeah, it's going to be Dad After Dark.
Ooh, and so Dad After Dark. We know what Dad does after dark.
So therefore, next week's edition will be at midnight Eastern, because it still has to be Day After Dynamite, so I have to wait till it's technically Day After Dynamite somewhere. So therefore, I'm holding it right at midnight. It'll be a late night edition of Day After Dynamite next week.
Cole Henderson sends in a super chat saying, Will mentioned on Dad with a wonderful co-host this week. His wife had great perspective on MJF's bar mitzvah. Also, happy birthday, Will's wife. And that's true, by the way. I wanted to mention that earlier because I've never been to a bar mitzvah. I didn't even know what to expect. So I didn't know how correct or incorrect what they were going to do was going to be,
Right. Yeah, and that's true that my wife does share a birthday with MJF. She was born March 15th, 1989, and therefore she got to celebrate on Wednesday. That's why I didn't get to watch Dynamite live. So, yes, a belated happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you, Cole.
Thank you, Cole. Alrighty, everyone. As for me, just please make sure you guys subscribe to this channel. I just surpassed 95,000 subscribers. I'm so freaking close to 100K. It is nuts. WrestleMania is in 2 weeks, and I'm going to be covering a multitude of events. So I'm going to be posting so much content up here. It's going to be like up the butt crazy, okay? Like for reals. It's going to be nuts. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and check us back out here for After the Week on Sunday. But until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.